I think we know by now that I like obscure miniature games. I mean, I like some of the mainstream games, but my criticism of those games are always that they're kind of the same thing. That it's basically walk up, see if you're in range, and then try to eliminate the other guy's model. And I know recently we've added more objective type gaming to games like that, but I mean, ultimately that's your interaction with the other player. And that's what you're trying to do is you're trying to build the right list to eliminate the most models while preserving your models. And that's okay sometimes, but I really, really prefer objective play. And I really even like to the point where I like almost non-combative play. I think there's a place for combative play, and I like to play, every once in a while a stomp list, but most of the time I like the kind of tricksy, get around the board, trick an opponent into thinking one thing and do another thing, and you both walk away from that and fight with a lot of your own models, but hopefully I get a slight edge there. And so that's what brings us to this game, the Batman miniature game, which is a fantastic game. Let me just say that. The game is fantastic. The models look great. It's one of my favorite themes, obviously, and I love to paint it. But yeah, I mean, it's still not without its, we'll call them quirks, and there are a lot of quirks in this game. It's a very, very quirky game, and yeah, there's some things that you face getting into the game which are just downright frustrating. But if you can get past that and enjoy some of the models and paint the crew that you want to play and get it on the board and really get to know the game, I think you'll really like it if you're looking for that change of pace. I think if you're looking for the kind of intrigue, the interesting play styles, not just walk up, like if you're going to eliminate a model, take it off the board, have a good reason for doing so. Like make sure it's part of a very specific objective or set of objectives that you're trying to achieve. And that's what BMG really excels at. Because yeah, you could walk up there and just remove a bunch of models, and then just proceed to lose the game because the other guy was playing to his playstyle. He was actually figuring things out on the board. And if you wasted all your AP and your turns, because this game only goes 4 turns, and you only got a very limited amount of AP in the game, and if you waste that stomping the other guy and go, me less strong, here I win, and you don't actually accomplish what's on those objective cards, well, you're gonna lose, and you're gonna lose a lot. Maybe you like that though. Maybe you just want to remove people's models, and I guess you could do that in Batman, but you're just not gonna win a lot of games doing that. But anyways, that's a lot of rambling before I actually described the game. But let's go over the basics, right? So here's the simple stats on the game. Plays on a 3x3 board. Model count is typically between 5 and say 10, maybe 11 models on the outside. The game plays in about, it says about 60 minutes. I think it's more like 60 to 190 minutes per game. And uses a D6 system for combat. I know that's what you guys are looking for. But there's all kinds of quirks to the game. So at least on paper, that's a very Octave sounding game, right? 3x3 board, plays in less than 2 hours, very low model count, very strategic, right? And we'll learn all of that. We'll learn all that basic stuff. But really, the meat of the game is the objective deck. That is set to your crew. There's also a generic deck, but you'll kind of have your crew specific deck, and then you're going to probably mix and match some generics in to fit your playstyle, to like further tailor it to your playstyle and the list of models that you're bringing. So that's what's so cool about the game. Like, I've been playing a lot of Riddler, and he is a very unique playstyle. in the game. Probably the most unique playstyle to date. But, there are, they play like you think they're going to play. If you like Bane, yeah, you get the breakbacks. If you like owls, yes, you will hunt prey. If you like, Riddler, yes, you are going to mess with the opponent's mind. So that's what I really like about the game. What I dislike about the game is getting into this game is very difficult. I mean, it's almost like somebody doesn't want you to get into the game. Knight's retail presence is extremely limited, and that's kind of putting it nicely. And finding the right rules can be very difficult if you don't know where to look. Finding your models, if you're not ordering from Knight, might be difficult, and you may run into some models that are now obsolete. So I just wanted to be upfront and transparent about that part. Yeah, the game itself is excellent. Getting into the game can be excruciating. Okay, it's kind of the opposite. And that's why a lot of other games do so very well, is because they have that part, they have that accessibility and the release schedule down. I mean, that's really it, folks. I mean, those games, that's why they do well. That's why the main game that this is going to be compared to, Marvel Crisis Protocol, does very well. That's one of the reasons. The other reason is, yeah, it's a standard war game. I mean, I love MCP. I play a lot of MCP. But guys, let's be honest here. The crises, they're about the same. The interaction with the other player is about the same. Walk up, see if you're in range, roll your dice versus their dice, and hope that your dice was better and that you stacked your dice, and and you're trying to eliminate the other guy's model. You're trying to impair the other guy's model. It's good for what it is. If you want to play something, in my opinion, more interesting, you want to play something that really bleeds theme and has some deep character to it, I think this is the game. This is one of my favorite games, if not my favorite game right now to play. But it's so heartbreaking that I cannot keep a store presence with the game, that I can't build a community based on a store. This game is great for gaming clubs. It actually excels in gaming clubs. But, the lack of retail presence is crippling in my situation, where, I want to run a lot of events out of a particular shop. That makes it difficult. That said, Batman Miniature Game is an excellent game. Okay, right? Like I said, what we really need to do is go through the core mechanics of the game, which are simple, but there's a lot of kind of added extras, like fighting at night, sewers and lamps. There's audacity. There's effort. There's a lot of things that are just kind of on the outside of what we'll say standard miniature game moving and mechanics that you have to pick up. It's not very difficult, but it's just a lot at first, just kind of learning the basic controls. But once you get past that, you're good to go. Then you really get into the meat of the game, which is building your crew and your deck. And I keep calling this out. The objective deck is really the hallmark feature of this game. And it's really what makes this game stand out against other games, is this fluid, changing set of criteria for which you score victory points, and for which you have to achieve objectives on the board. And what's even better about it is there is a dual mechanic with objectives and resources. And that makes it even more interesting. And it makes your selection of what cards go into your deck even more interesting. So you have this objective deck that really helps you dictate game variables and helps you identify what you really need to achieve with your crew. That's really the best part of the game. And then, of course, the models are amazing. And you get to play so many different variations of, say, Batman. But there's 10 different variations of Harley Quinn. There's like 7 different variations of Joker. And, they're based on TV shows and movies and everything media that you've consumed around the Batman universe. It's there. And yeah, even the obscure stuff, right? The Condiment King and Polka Dot Man and Calendar Man and, Eraser. Those are all in the game. And so if you're a hardcore like Batman DC Comics fan, you can live and breathe in this game, and you'll see the justification. Oh, why that's why that model has that rule. Like, it's very, very thematic. Anyways, I've done a lot of fawning about this game, and it's that thing again, right? I like these games that are a little on the obscure side. And because, like I said, because they sit outside the norm of what is your standard, walk up, beat 'em up game, and they play a little bit more intricately, and they allow really like almost non-combative playstyles. I love that. I think miniature games there should be more of that in miniature games, because that's why our audience is so limited, is because it's like, oh, I'm going to put together my beef guys versus your beef guys, and we're going to beef guys. Like, that's great. Don't get me wrong, guys. That's great. And it's fun. And I understand that that's the majority of you that play these, but I personally think that the miniature gaming there's so much more design space than that. But anyway, that's a lot. And I really haven't even begun to explain the Batman miniature game. It is just this excellent fluid moving game that is going to require a bit of learning to get into. There's a learning curve. I mean, people tell me, well, yeah, it's pretty basic. It's pretty simple, right? You got 4 turns. Models only get 1 action, with the Audacity exception. And you're like, okay, that sounds kind of easy. But there are a lot of quirks to learn in this game. There are a lot of keywords. Now, luckily, this game has an app, and it's a pretty good app. And if it didn't have the app and you had to look up all those keywords, well, I might not be fawning over this game as hard, because, accessibility is still very important, and having a good app to help you build and read stats and read rules, very important, right? That's, in fact, when we get into the first step, that is going to be your first step, is to go out there, go on Google Play or the, Apple Store and get the BMG app. Because if you don't do that, just like, and you try to build everything like old school way, well, I'm just going to use these cards and, I'm going to look for my stats. That's excruciating. Do not do that. Okay. And besides that, the app is really the one place where they keep the updated rules. Most of us have stat cards that have a bunch of keywords or rules on them that are no longer valid. But the basic stats for damage are still good. And that's really what you're going to be using your physical stat cards for. You're just going to be using them to track damage. You really should not be referring to them for rules and that sort of thing. So app is critically important. That's probably the first thing you're going to do. Then we'll get into some of the other purchases that you're going to want to get. The Season 1 objective cards, pretty much a must, regardless of whether or not you bought the 3rd edition starter set. Now, speaking of which, 3rd edition starter set is an excellent buy. Buy it if you can. But there are ways to not need to do that. For the longest time, I had the 2nd edition Dark Knight Rises set, which is frankly, from a miniatures and terrain standpoint, is arguably a better buy. You just don't get the updated rules. But once you understand accessibility and that sort of thing as part of this game, all of those kinds of decisions will be a little bit easier for you. And I'm hoping that I can help guide you through some of those decisions sooner rather than later, so that you don't end up buying a bunch of stuff that's obsolete or stuff that you don't need. Anyways, this game, excellent. I love the play styles. I love the playtime. I like the 3x3 mats. I like the crew sizes. I love the theme. I don't know. What else am I going to say? It's just, man, if you're gonna get on this journey, let's learn the hard part, which is really acquisition. Acquisition is the hardest part of this game. So with that, I hope you enjoyed the intro to the Batman Miniatures game, and stay tuned for some more videos to come. Thanks.